Hello everyone, today I'm here to do another recent reads. Today is going to be all upcoming, really anticipated thrillers that I'm going to talk about that I've already read, and I want to share with you my feelings on them. So like I said, I'm talking about three upcoming anticipated thriller books. They're really anticipated to me. I'm sure a lot of you as well. They're very popular authors. I know a lot of people are looking forward to them. I was so lucky to get NetGalley arcs of all of them, so I got to read them early, and I'm going to share with you all of my thoughts. So the books I'll be talking about today are Survive the Night by Riley Sager, For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing, and The Final Girls Support Group by Grady Hendrix. If you want to hear about one book in particular, there are going to be timestamps and chapters down below in case you want to hear about one book. But let's get into it because we got a lot to talk about. So the first book is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. This one comes out July 6th. So we have a couple months, but hopefully this whole video is really designed to share my thoughts and also to help you figure out if you want to read it or not. So Riley Sager is been on the thriller game for a while. This is his fifth book. I've read all 5 of his books. My favorite book of his, hands down, is Home Before Dark, which got released last year. I loved it, but I have to say I really enjoyed Survive the Night. So this book takes place in 1991, and we follow our main character Charlie, who is in college, and she is going home to like kind of quit college because a really traumatic thing happened to her at college, and so she's looking for a ride to go home. I believe she lives in Ohio, and she like posts on the ride board, and this guy sees it, and he's like, hey, I'm also traveling near you, you know, we can ride together, but I have to leave at like dark, like nighttime. And so she's very wary, but she's like, you know, I just really want to get out of campus. And so basically that's the whole premise of the book, is their car ride. This book takes place one whole night, hence the title Survive the Night. You get like glimpse of like hour by hour, things like that, where they're at. There's also a big looming threat with Charlie because where she goes to college, there's this campus killer who has killed like 3 or 4 girls. And one of them Charlie was very close to, so that's very traumatic for her. And so she's also trying to escape the campus killer. But as the night and drive goes on, she wonders, what does she know about this Josh guy that she is riding in the car with? Could he be the campus killer? So I can't go into much detail with all of these books because they're thrillers. The whole point of them is to thrill you, to, you know, surprise you with all of the plot twists and things like that. Overall, I gave this one a 4 out of 5. I still love Home Before Dark the best. I love that book so much. But I have to say, Survive the Night is a really strong contender for a Riley Sager book. Like I said, I've read all of them. I would say my favorites are Home Before Dark, Survive the Night, and then Final Girls. His other two I wasn't really a huge fan of, but Survive the Night, I really like the whole premise that it told in one night. You're also trying to divulge of Charlie and her past and what's happened to her, also with this campus killer, and the whole book is full of tension, obviously, because you're like, is this guy that she's writing with the campus killer? Is he gonna kill her? Will she make it till dawn? That's the whole thing. Will she actually make it home? Will she see the light of day? And there's lots of twists and turns with thrillers. I think there was one I definitely saw coming, and then there was a couple that I was pleasantly surprised by. But overall, I did really enjoy it. It's a great one, I think, to read for, you know, I think the main times to read thrillers are like summertime because they're just fast-paced novels you can just read really quickly outside. That's what I do. I tend to read a lot of thrillers in the summer, and I also read a lot of them, you know, in the fall near Halloween. But this is a great summer thriller because it's 90s. It talks a lot about kind of classic horror movies and things like that because Charlie is really into movies, and she, even throughout this book, she kind of dazes off and she goes within her own movies where she'll see predicaments happen, and then she'll kind of wake up and she'll wonder if that really happened or not. So it's almost kind of like a hallucination. So I guess you could call her an unreliable narrator, but it was entertaining. It was good. I would recommend it if you love Riley Sager's books. I think a lot of people will really be happy with it. Moving on to For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. This is her 3rd book. I've read all 3 of them. My favorite book by her is for sure My Lovely Wife. That's one of my favorite thrillers of all time. I did enjoy her next book. He started it, and then we have this one, For Your Own Good, which I didn't really love. I don't know. I think it's got pretty good ratings. I just didn't connect well with it. So For Your Own Good takes place at this private school called Belmont Academy, and you follow a slew of characters, but the main people you follow are this teacher, Teddy, who is a teacher, and you also follow Zach. So Teddy is a teacher that he loves teaching students, but he's also horrible. That's all I'll put it at. He wants to, he teaches at this private academy. So he sees these rich, entitled kids all the time. And one of them is Zach. And he really wants to like teach Zach a lesson because Zach gets away with everything. He's got rich parents. He gets whatever he wants. And, he fails Zach on occasion and it like really blows up Zach's world. Also get a point of view from Zach, who is really struggling at home because his parents are so hard on him. If he brings home like less than an A, it's like not good. And his parents buckle down more on him. So him and Teddy have this very tumultuous student-teacher relationship. We also follow a whole bunch of other teachers in Belmont Academy who are all doing things like for the good of the students. And basically what happens in this book is a whole bunch of murders happen with the teachers and things like that. And nobody knows who's doing it. And with the book, there's no secret of who's committing the murders. There's not a ton of plot twists. It's mainly just about unraveling all of these characters' psyches and just like watching a whole bunch of like people that think they're doing the right thing in their mind, but it's really not. And just Teddy, I think I just didn't love this book because I don't necessarily have to like every character of books I read. I've read several where the characters are meant to be unlikable and I love them, but this one, I don't know. I just kind of wanted more from it. I just felt like the ending was kind of left. I don't know. See, I'm having such conflicting thoughts about this now. The ending, I was going to say, left me kind of unhappy, but then as I think about it, I was like, it was a pretty good ending. I like the way they ended it because I feel like it's just going to be the cycle keeps continuing of what somebody thinks is the right thing, but could not be. And it's a wild ride of a book. I'll say that. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5. I didn't love it as much. I wish I could say why. All the characters are twisted. All of them have their motives. All of them have done a lot of bad things. So it's like, who do you root for? The one who's done less bad things? Things like that. But it really gets into like the life behind a private school of teachers versus students, of rich kids versus, these poor teachers that don't get enough, that have to teach these rich privileged kids. And it's interesting. I think you'll like it if you like the whole private school setting. I'm so on that. I like some private school books, some not, but it was interesting. I'm glad I read it. I will continue to read Samantha Downing's works because I do like her writing a lot and it is very interesting. This is just probably my least favorite of her books, sadly, but at the end of the day, I still enjoyed it. I forgot to say, For Your Own Good comes out on July 20th, so you got a couple months for that as well. I apologize. And the last book I'm going to talk about today is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. This one comes out July 13th, so all of these books will be available to you within 2 months. You can hold out. You can wait. I promise. They're worth it. This one definitely wins for the wildest one. Like, it was bananas. Like, this whole book, just bananas. Bananas. Like, I've only read one other Grady Hendrix book before, and that was his release last year called The Southern's Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. He must have an affinity for long titles. And I really enjoyed that one. I think this one could probably be classified as horror, honestly, because it scared the crap out of me. But basically, this whole book, if you can't tell by the title, it's all about final girls. And what are final girls? Final girls are that classic trope within, like, early horror movies. I wouldn't even say early horror movies, just kind of horror movies in general, where there's always one girl left standing and she is the final girl, the ones that defeated the evil. You think of Scream, think of Halloween, things like that. Movies I really haven't seen because your girl's scared, but I'll read about it apparently. This book follows one of our final girls, Lynette, and Lynette obviously had a final girl moment happen to her when she was younger, and it has really taken a lot on her. Like, she has become a recluse. She is very, very, like, agoraphobic, I would say. She only leaves her house for like going to the grocery store and to go to her final girl support group monthly meeting. And that's where she meets a whole bunch of other final girls that have also experienced their final girls moment, or like the last one standing. And so she like is very like paranoid. She takes a lot of detours with like where she goes. She's very, very like, she stays on top of it. And then she notices that somebody is starting to kill all of the final girls. Nobody believes her. Like, nobody in her group believes that they're killing final girls. Lynette's the only one that's like, somebody is out to get all of us. So she goes on this, you know, chase to try to figure out like who is trying to kill us. And it's it's just an insane book. It is intense. It's gonna probably scare the crap out of you. It is gory. It gave me nightmares. So I'll say that. This one obviously is a lot of tropes with kind of horror movies. Each of the final girls, you'll hear about their kind of final girl scenario, and they're very, very reminiscent of like Scream, Friday the 13th, Halloween, things like that. This is kind of meta in a way. I've heard a lot of people say that if you like Cabin in the Woods, the movie, which I haven't watched, but I know the whole plot line because I watch Found Flicks that explains everything. So maybe if you like that movie, you'll like this. So it is kind of meta in that way where it's really trying to really focus in on those tropes, but it was just intense. Like, I would say if you're like really not into gore, really not into a lot of really scary stuff, I would probably not read this. If you're into that, I think you'll enjoy it. But this one was the most intense out of all the thrillers, hands down. I gave it a 4 out of 5. When I first read it, I only gave it a 3.5 because I was like, oh my gosh. But the more I thought about it and the more I can't stop thinking about it because it's so freaking like just it's ingrained in my head, which is probably not the best thing. I'm like, I gotta bump it up to a 4 because there were several plot twists that I did not see coming. He did it really well, but I don't know, man. Grady Hendrix just goes for it. Like it's intense. It's a lot. It's something, you know, I really wish they would have also focused, the one downside I would say, the mental health that all of these women must have to deal with being a final girl. They do meet for a support group, but beyond that, they don't talk much about the mental effect, the mental health tolls that it's taken upon them. Because when you read about what happened to them, you're like, how are you okay? Like, how? And I really wish they would have delved more into that and made it more, you know, normalized for therapy and other things because they didn't really talk about that a lot. And I just really wish it would have been talked about because each of these women had such really insane traumatic things happen to them that I'm like, this must have affected them in some sort of way. But at the end of the day, if you just want a wild ride of a gory final girls type of book, go for it. This obviously, when I first saw the title and everything, it reminded me of Final Girls by Riley Sager, which is a book, you guessed, about final girls, which got released like 4 years ago, I want to say. So which one of the two I like more? It's hard to say. Like, if you love just final girl trope city that gives you reminiscent of like the old movies with, you know, seeing that, final girl support group will do. If you want kind of maybe a less intense and less scary one, I would probably recommend Riley Sager's one because it's just a lot less scary. I mean, maybe I'm just a huge chicken, so take this with a grain of salt. Just Grady Hendrix definitely, like, he's not afraid to go there. I'll just say that. But I mean, if you're a fan of horror movies and stuff like that, and tropes, this one you'll probably really enjoy. So I gave it a 4 out of 5. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts and feelings on 3 upcoming thriller books that I know a lot of you are anticipating. They all come out in July, and I think they're all great to read in July, back to back, because that is what I did, which I don't know if I'd recommend for, you know, your scariness. Because it didn't help me at all. I would love to hear if I got you excited for any of these books, or maybe one of them maybe you'll steer clear of, one of them you'll definitely read. I would love to hear, and also, you know, what your favorite thriller books coming out this summer that you can't wait to read, because I know I will definitely be reading more very, very soon. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.